Namaste, everyone. My name is Alex, and this is a 30-minute gentle yoga practice. I want to thank you for joining me this day, and I want to wish you, if you are following me along every week, a Happy New Year. It is 2024. And what I would love to do for this yoga class is to start off in a seated, comfortable position, but us focusing on our mantra for 2024. So if you are ready to begin, go ahead and get comfortable. No props are needed, and we'll get started. We're going to start here in a seated, comfortable position. Cross-legged, sitting up nice and tall. Roll your shoulders up, back, down. Close the eyes. Relax the shoulders down away from your ears. And just begin to notice your breath. Noticing the quality of your breath. Beginning to deepen your breath here. Breathe in deeply and slowly through your nose. Sigh it out. One more time, inhaling in deeply. Sigh it out. Continuing with your deep breaths. Now, if you are following me along beginning of this year, or maybe you are following me along later on your yoga journey, I always like to stop and focus on my mantra. I love to start off the new year with a mantra. Oftentimes it changes throughout the seasons of life and throughout the year, depending on what I am going through. But at least for now, my mantra that I have embraced for 2024 is the mantra, I am worthy. So as you're breathing in here, asking yourself, what is your mantra? I am what? And maybe you just breathe in those two words, breathing in I am. And just notice what comes to mind. I am worthy. I am caring. I am at peace. Noticing what comes to mind when you breathe in I am. My mantra, I am worthy, has come to me because in reflecting on the past year, I noticed I would sacrifice myself a lot for others, sacrifice my peace, my happiness, my self-care. I am worthy of taking care of myself. I am worthy of self-love. I am worthy of respect. What is your affirmation? I am what? Bringing your hands to heart center, bowing your head, affirming your affirmation. As we begin to move here, bringing your hands onto the knees for some seated cat-cow. Maybe you flutter your eyes open. Inhale, puff your chest forward for seated cow. And exhale, round your back, chin to chest. We're going to do this 2 more times. So inhale to cow. Exhale, cat. One more time. Inhale to cow. Exhale, cat. Coming to sit up nice and tall. Inhale, reach your hands high. Cactus the arms. Exhale, squeeze those shoulder blades together. 2 more times. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, cactus. 1 more. Inhale, extend. Exhale, cactus. On your next inhale, reach those hands high. And then take that left hand down by your side. Walk the hand away from you. Hinge to your left. Gaze high to that right elbow. Now take that right arm, reach it up and over as far as you can here without rolling the shoulder forward. Roll the right shoulder back. On your next inhale, slowly reach that left hand high. Same thing, other side. Exhale, drop the right hand down. Walk the hand away from you. Hinge to your right, gaze high. Finding length here on the left side of the body. Roll that left shoulder back. Breathing here. Slowly rise here. Meeting in a tabletop position. So we do some traditional cat and cows here. Hands and knees. If your knees are sensitive, you need a little bit more support, you can take a blanket and place it under the knees. Now from here, I want you to engage the core, draw the belly button up towards the spine with this neutral tabletop position. On your next inhale, drop the belly, gaze high for cow. And exhale, rounding your back, chin to chest. Tuck the tailbone in, feeling the stretch here in the shoulders and the spine. On your next inhale, drop your belly, gaze high. Exhale to cat. Going at your own pace here now with your own breath between cat and cow. Maybe you begin to shift the hips side to side and gaze to the back of the mat. Doing what feels good for the body. And then pause here as we come into some hip circles. Walk the hands forward so they're not directly under the shoulders. You begin to shift forward the hips and then create circles here, bringing them in either direction. Being as dramatic as you desire. Pause where you are and reverse that direction. Now the next time that you shift the hips forward towards the top of the mat, pause there and walk your hands back so your wrists are stacked directly under the shoulders. We're going to come into a thread the needle, starting with the right hand. If this is sensitive for your shoulder, you could put a blanket under the right shoulder. From here, on your inhale, lift your right hand high to the ceiling. And exhale, thread the needle, dropping that shoulder down, followed by the cheek. Noticing the hips here, try to keep them square to the mat instead of dipping the right hip down. And maybe you take the left hand and reach it towards the top of the mat. And just breathe. Breathing in your affirmation. I am. Two more rounds of breath. One more. Take that left hand, press back up into that tabletop position. Do the same thing other side. Inhale, lift the left hand high. Exhale, thread the needle, dropping the left shoulder down. Remember, you can put a blanket under the shoulder, keeping your hips square. Maybe you reach that right hand towards the top of the mat and just breathing here. I am. And maybe you don't even necessarily believe the affirmation right now. It's good to meditate on an affirmation that is challenging for us. The more we meditate on affirmations that are challenging for us, that we don't necessarily 100% believe in, the more it helps us to be aware of, well, why is it that we don't believe that affirmation? You'll be amazed at what you'll find, what you'll learn about yourself. So breathe it in, even if you don't 100% agree with it. Two more rounds of breath. And one more. Take the right hand, press up back to tabletop. One of my favorite poses, coming into a melting heart. If you need the blanket under your chest or forehead, know it's available. Begin to walk your hands forward. You're going to keep your hips stacked over the knees. And then from here, literally melting your heart down towards the mat. Maybe you bring the forehead onto the mat or to a blanket. You need to go a little further. Maybe you bring the chin to the mat. We're just trying to press our chest down towards the floor, hence the name Melting Heart, feeling the stretch in the upper back, the shoulder blades, the shoulders. It is an amazing pose if you lift weights like myself. And just breathe. Two more rounds of breath. And one more. From here, slowly shift forward onto the belly. Forearms are on the mat. Spread the fingers nice and wide. And make sure that your toes are untucked here. So the tops of the feet are going to be on the mat, coming into a Sphinx pose. Now, with the Sphinx pose, try to make sure that you're still reaching the crown of the head up high towards the ceiling, and you're going to press the forearms firmly into the mat. Notice your hips here. Try to press your hips into the mat. You're going to feel a stretch here on your lower back. Relax the shoulders away from the ears and relax your glutes. Close your eyes. Breathing into the lower back. You need a little bit more. You can come into seal by turning your hands out to the corners of the mat, pressing your hands into the mat to lift your elbows. Maybe you walk your hands back towards your body a little bit more. You're still relaxing your glutes in either one of these poses as the hips melt towards the floor. Two more rounds of breath. One. Slowly bring your forearms back down to the mat if you were in seal, and stack your hands, elbows turn out to the side, and rest your right cheek down onto the mat, allowing your spine to reset, deepening your breath. Two more rounds of breath. And one more. As you press your hands into the mat to lift up and meet in a child's pose. Knees as wide as the mat, big toes touch. You're going to reach those hands forward here and melt the forehead down to the mat. Now, if this is uncomfortable on your knees, you can put a blanket under the knees. Or maybe you put a blanket in between your calves and the back of your leg. Another option is to come on your back into a happy baby, big toes touching. So almost like a reverse child's pose on your spine. Either way, just close your eyes and breathe here. Melting your chest down towards the floor. And just letting go. Reconnecting with your affirmation, your mantra. For me, I am worthy.
Just noticing as you breathe in this mantra, what kind of emotions arise, what kind of thoughts arise. Two more rounds of breath. One more.
Now slowly begin to walk your hands back towards you. So you come to sit down onto your mat and straighten out your legs here in front of you. We're going to come into a seated forward fold, starting first in staff pose. So let's talk about staff pose for a moment. Have your legs straight out in front and keep your feet flexed. Take your hands down by your side. Then you're going to roll those shoulders up, back, and down. And notice the neck and spine here. Nice straight line. Now from here, you're going to begin to hinge at the hips, trying not to round the upper back here. So hinging forward at the hips. Noticing if it becomes a little too much for the knees, you can always bend them as much as you need to. Continuing to hinge here at the hips until you find your edge, feeling a stretch here on the hamstrings. And maybe your hands grab the ankles, the shins, the feet, whatever's available. Then you can allow your chin to fall towards the chest. Breathing here in seated forward fold. Two more rounds of breath. And one more. On your next inhale, slowly begin to walk your hands back towards you, bringing the soles of your feet to touch here into this Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. Again, sitting up nice and tall, nice straight spine, relaxing your shoulders, knees pressing down towards the floor. You can put some blankets under them if you need a little extra support, or sit on a blanket. But either way, sitting up nice and tall. From here, maybe you hinge forward at the hips. Feeling the stretch here in the inner thighs, and then allowing your chin to fall towards your chest. Deepening your breath. And letting go. Two more rounds of breath. See if you can fold a little bit more. And one more. On your next inhale, slowly rise here, straightening out your legs in front of you here as we come into a lovely spinal twist. Bend your right knee and bring the sole of that foot onto the mat. Now, maybe you desire to keep your legs exactly like they are, or if you want, you could cross that right leg over the left, planting that foot down onto the floor. Either way, you're going to keep that left foot nice and flexed here, and you're going to keep that spine nice and straight. Sit up tall. From here, take your left arm, and you're going to wrap the left arm around the right leg and twist from your rib cage to the right, planting your right hand down behind you. Now see if each inhale you can sit up a little taller. Each exhale, try to twist a little bit deeper from the rib cage. Avoid twisting from the neck to prevent injury. Two more rounds of breath. And one more. Coming into this open twist, take your right arm around the right leg and twist to your left. Same thing, inhale, sit a little taller. Exhale, twist a little deeper from the rib cage. Two more rounds of breath. And one more. From here, slowly straighten the legs, gaze forward, same thing other side, bend into that left knee. The foot can stay planted to the left side of that right leg or cross it over. And we're gonna do the same twist on the other side. Right arm comes around the left leg. And notice the spine. Sit up nice and tall first before you even come into that twist. And then on your exhale, twist from your rib cage to the left, planting the left hand down behind you. Inhale, see if you can sit a little taller. Imagine you're just trying to reach the crown of the head up towards the ceiling. And exhale, twist deeper. 2 more rounds of breath. And 1 more. Coming into that open twist, gaze forward, wrap that left arm around the left leg. Inhale, sit a little taller here, nice straight spine. And exhale, twist from the ribcage to the right. Plant the right hand behind you. Two more rounds of breath. And 1 more. Slowly send your gaze forward. Straighten out the legs here in front of you. And we're going to come into that pigeon pose. I'm going to start off with deer pose. For those who may have sensitive knees, this may be where you want to start. Or if you have had a hip replacement in the past, then a pigeon pose may not feel good. So you may want to start with the right foot inside of the left thigh with the leg extended. This may be where you are today, which is a-okay. Now, if you want to go a little further, you can bend that left knee so the right leg is parallel to the top of the mat, left leg is parallel to the long side of the mat. And this is deer pose. Now, if you want to go even further, come into pigeon pose, which is a rather intense stretch on the hips. So you can plant your hands down in front of that right leg and bring that left leg out behind you. And the left toes are untucked. Before you come down, I want you to notice, look behind you and see if that hip and the ankle are in a nice straight line with one another. Oftentimes our leg is really far out to the side, which can do some injury to our hips later on. So make sure it's a nice straight line with the hip and ankle. From here, bringing the forearm down to the mat, or you can keep your hands on the mat if this is too intense. Maybe you extend your hands forward and rest the forehead down. No matter where you are, closing your eyes and breathing. Breathing in deeply. Coming back to your affirmation, your mantra. Again, mine is, I am worthy. I love to tell stories as we're holding poses. Because oftentimes our mind likes to try to trick us into getting out of a pose because it's a little uncomfortable. If it's painful, get out of it. But if it's uncomfortable, just hang with it and listen to my story. So why do I have this affirmation of I am worthy? Well, long story short, when I was younger, I did deal with a lot of self-esteem issues. And sometimes, even as you get older, some of those little issues or big issues that you dealt with when you were younger, they kind of carry with you when you become an adult. So we never really, get over all of those little self-esteem issues we dealt with when we were younger. Well, as I became an adult, I still carried with me this idea that I needed to make everybody happy. And if I made everybody happy all the time, then I would be happy. Now, in some ways, there is a little bit of truth to that. If you have read the Bhagavad Gita or the Yoga Sutras, it does talk about, we experience happiness when we make others happy. So that is true. Yes, we can be happy when we help others to be happy as well. But there is a line that should be drawn when you sacrifice your happiness for the happiness of others. And that was something that was a little bit of a challenge for me when I was younger. And so, as I have gone into this new year, 2024, I am worthy means I am worthy of self respect. I am worthy of self love. I'm worthy of setting boundaries with people, but I'm also worthy of creating distance between me and those who don't align with my energy. So that's my little story of I am worthy. And I hope that helped you as you're breathing through this discomfort here in pigeon pose as we slowly begin to press these hands up here into the mat and begin to bring the legs out in front of you. No matter what pose you're in, hands come behind you. Bring your feet as wide as the mat and windshield wiper your knees side to side. So just thinking about what is your mantra? I am. Making sure it's meaningful to you and your life journey and what you are going through. You don't want to say, I am worthy, if it's just not something that is really all that meaningful for you. Continue windshield wiper, side to side. And then we're going to come to the other side with our pigeon pose. Now we're going to get started with showing that modification. If you've had, sensitive hip or knees, you can always straighten that right leg out to the side and bring that left foot to that right thigh. Sit up here, maybe you hinge forward. Maybe you come into deer where the left leg parallel to the top, right leg is parallel to the long side of the mat, keeping your feet flexed. Or you can join me in pigeon pose, making sure the ankle is in line with the hip. And then maybe you come down to the forearms. Or maybe if you're super bendy, you can reach those hands all the way forward and melt the forehead down to the mat. Either way, just relaxing here in the pose and breathe. Going back to your affirmation, your mantra, I am. Three more rounds of breath. Two more. And one more. Slowly pressing your hands into that mat. Come back down into that hip, bringing both legs out in front of you here. And hands behind you, feet as wide as the mat. We're going windshield wiper one more time. Just getting any bit of stiffness out of those hips. We're going to make our way down onto our spine here. Take your time. Straightening out those legs. Rolling on down to the back. Slowly. And then reaching those arms up and overhead for a full body stretch. One of my yogi friends calls it a good morning stretch. I love the name. Arching the back, pointing the toes, and then bending both knees. Arms down by your side. Walk your feet a little closer towards your glutes here. Now we're going to come into a bridge pose, keeping the weight in your heels and forearms. On your next inhale, lift the hips high to the ceiling. Knees stay in line with your hips here. See if you can lift a little bit higher. And slowly lower down one vertebrae at a time. Take your feet as wide as your mat. And begin to windshield wiper the knees side to side. Now the next time your knees fall to the right, keep them there. If it feels good on the left knee, maybe you take your right ankle on top of the left thigh and press the leg down a little bit more towards the floor. You'll feel that stretch into the lower back. Breathing here. Releasing and going back to your windshield wipers, side to side. Next time your knees fall to the left, keep them there. If it feels good on the knees, maybe the left ankle comes to right thigh, pressing that right leg down towards the floor. Feeling the stretch on the lower back. Breathe here. Releasing the feet, pointing the knees back towards the ceiling, and walk your feet hip distance apart. As you come into a figure 4, right ankle to left thigh, and flex this foot here. Now from here, if you desire, you can lift the left foot off of the mat and wrap your hands around the left thigh. Keep that left foot flexed. And notice here, as you're holding this figure 4 shape, if your leg is extended or if the foot is on the floor, no matter what, you're going to try to press that right knee a little further away from the body. Being mindful, go slow, pressing the knee away from you. You don't want to force it here. Two more rounds of breath. One more. Slowly releasing. Bringing the foot back to meet the left. Same thing other side. Left ankle to right thigh. Your left foot stays flexed. Now, my left hip doesn't always agree with me, so I'm going to keep my right foot on the floor. It's a little yoga tip. You have nothing to prove to anybody. So maybe on the right side, you were able to lift the foot. Maybe on the left side, no bueno. And that's me. And that's a-okay. And so maybe you lift the right foot off of the mat, wrap the arm around the right leg, and enjoy that beautiful hip stretch. For me, this is enough for me on this side. So I'm just going to push that knee away from the body here. And that's the thing that's so amazing about yoga, is that everything that you do on your right side, you may not be able to do on your left. And both sides of your body are completely different. And so I am worthy of practicing that balance, of knowing what I can do and knowing my limitations. And I am worthy of saying no. And so, love how I threw that mantra in. Breathing here for 2 more rounds of breath. And one more. Releasing the left foot. And maybe it'll feel good to just bring the soles of the feet to touch. Knees fall to the side in the supine butterfly. And just snuggle those shoulder blades under. Palms facing up to the ceiling. Close your eyes and just breathe. Breathe in that mantra. Breathe the mantra into your heart. Breathe the mantra into your mind. Breathe the mantra into your spirit. Continue to breathe the mantra in until it becomes you. As you straighten your legs to the corners of the mat, allowing your breath to return to its natural state. Always remembering your mantra. Pausing and breathing this mantra in throughout your day, every day. Taking note of the difference that it'll make in the long run. As for me, I am worthy. As for you, I am what? Breathe it in. Believe and meditate on it daily. May you find peace in your body, mind, spirit, in your Shavasana. I will leave you here. Remember to like and subscribe Yoga with Alex Bogart. And if you like this class, just know I teach virtual yoga through Ohana Yoga Studio in Moncks Corner, South Carolina. Check out the link in my bio to register for virtual classes. And I hope that I get to move and breathe with you live in virtual classes very soon. Namaste, my friends.